outlined 4 priorities that I wanted us to focus on. And one of those priorities, you can find them on our website or Facebook, or there's lots of other places that you've probably seen them over these past 6 or 7 weeks now already. One of the priorities that I have listed is equipping people, that we want to continue to equip us as God's people to go out and to serve the kingdom, to serve God. And one of the ways that the best ways that we can equip and be equipped is by the study of God's Word. It's been a while since we've had a Bible study at Trinity because of our circumstances, where we've been at. We continue to meet Sunday mornings for a Zoom Bible study, looking at our sermon text for the day. But starting, as you can see here probably on the board behind me, starting on Thursday, we're going to try it at 1 p.m. Starting on Thursday, I wanted to do a Bible study, a look at the minor prophets. And I'm calling this study Preparing to Return from Exile. Because in some ways that's where we've been. That's how it feels like we have been, God's people, scattered, sent from where we were, waiting, longing, hoping to return. And so as we're people, as we understand ourselves, even in a small way, as people in exile, I wanted to use the minor prophets as a way of preparing ourselves for just the place that we're at and where we are headed. As a basis for our time together, we'll use a lot of the material that I use when I teach this at CLBI, our Bible School in Camrose. And some of the thoughts that I often share there originate in an Old Testament scholar, Walter Brueggemann. And he uses this picture, this image of orientation, how God's people were oriented one way, they were moving in one direction, in one stream, and something happened to disorient them. Sin occurred, people's relationship with God and each other were broken. There was a disorientation, a moment of not moving in the same direction that they once hoped. So there was an orientation, moving one way, a disorientation, kind of a scattering moment, even like we're experiencing today. But the minor prophets, and all the prophets in fact, point to the hope of a reorientation. That's those words there, the orientation, disorientation, and reorientation. So we're going to be thinking about that, how the prophets can encourage us as we prepare to return from exile, which will happen eventually. We don't have a time or a date quite yet, but hopeful in the coming weeks as we prepare to return from exile. How will we be reoriented toward God? One of the things that I've heard and kind of sensed is that there's this expectation almost that we'll be able to just pick up where things left off. I've said from the beginning that this isn't just a time tying us over just to get us back to where we were or what we were doing, but that this is a time that God is using hopefully to shape new things in us, his people. And so it's not so much exile is as unpleasant as it may be. It's a time that God uses to shape his people, to reorient them back to himself, and to do a new thing. And so as we prepare in the coming weeks, hopefully again, to come back together, I don't want us to see, have our hopes up that it's just going to be as things always were, because the reality is that this may be our new normal, that there's life will look different as a result of these weeks apart. And we want to go in with our eyes open and ready, looking, watching, seeing what God is doing, how God is at work, what God is shaping and stirring us in his people. So join us Thursdays. We'll try it at 1, see how that goes. The good thing with live stream and technology is. If you can't make it at 1, you can watch it later that day or in the evening or whatever time works for you. But we'll try it Thursday. It'll be starting this Thursday at 1 p.m. on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. I continue to pray that all the technology works right and we can simulcast at the same time to those and everything works out well. So join us Thursdays at 1 p.m. as we unpack the minor prophets and as they help us to prepare for coming back together, as we understand ourselves as God's people that are being reoriented, reshaped around Him, around the work that He's doing in us.